Hello everyone, this is Andrew Barczak. I am here to talk about employee system, the database I designed, and the motivation came from a public data set for employee data set that consists of employees, tables, salaries, titles, and then department related data. And I took this set and created basically a logical view, mapping the tables, as you can see from here directly, and then created relational data view. And upon dealing with all the issues and putting constraints and verifying that the primary keys, foreign keys, so the constraints triggers were correctly set up, and that basically uniqueness was covered, all kind of stuff. I was able to export the DDL file that was then read into the Oracle developer, and basically database was created. I have my own database created through developer, and then I was able to populate the data set using import feature that's shown here. And basically at this point, everything was up and running. So the next step was to basically do the QA on this database, which I did. However, I was looking for an automated procedure to do Boise code normal form verification, basically looking for normalization. And that kind of led me into this whole area of verifying the database via QA. And what I learned in this research process was that there's no really good information about it. It's not possible to find automated scripts for doing BCNF verification. And the best I could do to really talk about QA was to talk about QA as process of finding atomicity, consistency, isolation, durability, and the paper showed example of doing this for create table statements and basically managing constraints. And the takeaway for me from these papers on doing QA was that it's really related to how user accesses the data, verifying data, it's put the correctly and so forth. So that brought me into using Python as a way to access databases. And first item in doing this was to literally create and run Jupyter Notebook, which is shown here, and basically running this uses a very good library for Oracle called CX Oracle, and that allows access. And in this particular case, data was taken from the database directly rather than from the CSV files, and charts were created for salary distribution and average salary by title. And then next part was running Python standalone in the terminal, and that basic access or created two databases. One was called to-do item for the tasks that were written and read out of database, and the other one dealt with using Flask library and using REST API to access database. And this one has three routes. The default route, it's when the message comes and says, welcome to the app. The other one is you post data, basically put this into Oracle database, and database comes back with the ID number, and that ID number could be used in the route called user that basically allows one to access database on that key. So to see it in action, we can see that over here, that was the main invocation through the calling the server with that address. And then the post command basically puts data for Frank, and the database comes with 87. And then that could be reference for the user route and read the database. So the rest of my write-up talks about challenges with the project. So here they are, they're mostly documentation related, and then I have references, and I also have DDL code that I used to populate the database and create it, and then QA code that I used to verify. And thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.